Loading. Let me just mute. We are live.
All right. Welcome, everybody. We are on the lucky episode.
We are.
Lucky episode number 13.
Okay. 13.
Whoo!
We are moving. We are moving. That's what I love to see.
It threw me off, actually. I was like, wait, 13 already?
So, yeah.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 13 of the Risk Reward Show presented by RiskReward Media. My name is Cris Mercado, aka Mr. Risk. And we have here Derrick, aka Mr. Reward. How you doing, Derrick?
Could be better, but happy to be talking about this stuff with you today.
Cool. Yeah. So again, for folks who are joining us, and I will note that we are at 19 subscribers.
Uh-oh.
Almost at 20.
There you go.
So we're definitely way past the 1 subscriber per episode threshold.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, like, thank you all for sharing, subscribing, liking, and commenting. Because again, this content is here to help you find the upside in your professional and your financial lives, your business endeavors. And that's what we're here to do each and every Monday. We had to delay it today to around 7:30 because Derrick and I have been super busy.
Yeah.
So just give him a taste of what you've been up to this weekend, Derrick.
This weekend, I was helping out Bloomberg and the Knowledge House put on a hackathon. We had over 70 Bloomberg volunteers, close to 80. But on top of that, I mean, I would say close to like 100 because it was 70 people or like 70 plus people that were a part of the hackathon. But there was like a whole team of people that were involved on like the behind the scenes. So I just want to give a shout out to everybody on the Bloomberg team that helped to make this all happen. But the projects came out really, really well. We should be announcing the winners this week.
Yeah, so shout out to you, first of all, for all that coordination, but to have like that many volunteers from like a big company like Bloomberg volunteer their time, like kudos to them. And again, like, hey, if any big corporations out there want to see what we're trying to do, how we're partnering up with various organizations and really helping to train the next generation of talent, feel free to reach out, spread the word. We'll get back to you.
Most definitely.
Yeah, so kudos to you on that.
How about you?
I was doing a lot of working out was one, but really trying to, process bigger vision things. I think one thing that we sometimes need to reflect on is, how much is our day-to-day really affecting those bigger, longer-term goals that you have as a professional, but also, within the companies or orgs that you work with. So I was thinking a lot about where I'm going to take Grantanswers and how I want to, deal with clients. And, I popped in on a couple of random events and, I might have to do some follow-ups on a few opportunities related to media, which is, one of the reasons that we've talked about this to our audience in a previous episode, but we had these ambitions of kind of delivering something different in this it's not really a podcast, but in media space, right? So I think we're on our way, and having those 19 subscribers is a help.
Very exciting. Yes.
So thank you all, and that's gonna bring us actually to, when we talk about media, to our first segment, which is the Risk Reward Weekly Rewind. And the first thing that was top of mind for me was actually Draftkings. So I think we still own the stock.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a long-term hold for me. I actually bought 50% more last week. And I bought it.
During that dip.
Yeah. And I bought it after the announcement of their $50 million investment to Meadowlark Media, which is really the home of Dan LeBatard and Friends Network. So I don't know if you follow that network or like his show
Yes.
carefully, but it has been my favorite for a long time. In fact, most things Dan LeBatard, like including Highly Questionable on ESPN.
Mhm.
But they left ESPN a few months ago. For the past 3 months, they've been doing this in a piecemeal kind of way. They found a home and started a company with the former head at ESPN, John Skipper, and they formed this new media company called Meadowlark Media. But what this is centered on is really content. So the Dan LeBatard show and all the other products are centered on sports and comedy and where they intersect. But on like, I'm a fan of both the company DraftKings, but also the podcast.
Yeah.
But this is a sign for me that DraftKings is looking into becoming like the Netflix of sports media and sports betting. And that's why I bought another 50% shares that I already owned last.
Yeah.
So I was wondering what your thoughts were on that and like my take on where they're trying to go, DraftKings.
Me personally, I think it's a smart move. I think the whole point of Dan and his team kind of leaving ESPN, it goes hand in hand with what we're going to be talking about soon, but that like they weren't able to say what they wanted to say fully. So and this also makes me think about us a lot in terms of that, we don't have like someone that we're like kind of, well, I mean, like we don't have like that bigger the company. So whatever deals come in, like we can take them if it makes sense for us. So I did do like some research on what the deal is, and basically DraftKings will be able to kind of use like their content and in the different places, which is cool. But my initial reaction was like, great move. They could not have gotten that at ES the PN. So for them to be able to kind of branch out and get deals like that, I think is awesome. But on the flip side, DraftKings is really trying to take over like little by little. I know this is like one of their first deals, but I'm pretty sure they have something else that's coming down the pipeline. Just because knowing that sports betting is literally, I don't know if it's fully legal in like all of the states, but in I feel like damn near half or more than half of the states, like sports betting is, just like legal. So this is the beginning to what sports betting is. So I'm very curious to see what DraftKings does, knowing that, now they have like a large audience. Because Dan, I mean, for him, his show was like, I didn't always watch it, but when I did, I enjoyed it. And I would always, find people that would watch it that I could always ask about. So I'm pretty sure he has millions of, followers and people that always watching his show. So now DraftKings has, access to all of those like dollars now, because now if you're watching sports, you're going to be sports betting now. Because I feel like it's very easy. They say you put in $1, you probably get back like like $100 back. So you're going to have a bunch of people that are going to be spending, small bets, but they're going to be getting money. So, for DraftKings, this is a good move because once again, this is being, just like legalized across the nation, but also they have a large audience where they can, have them become actual buyers now.
Yeah. So a couple of themes here. So there was a history of some talent at ESPN who felt like they couldn't share some of their political views or like that would get them in trouble because again, ESPN is owned by Disney.
The mouse.
Right? The mouse. So they have a broad audience and, something that can be political discourse can be divisive. And a couple of people left in part because of that lack of freedom. And the way the deal is structured, it provides Dan and like everybody involved, a great deal of freedom, which is what they want, which is what we want. And this is also what people in our audience say they want. They say they want the independence and freedom. And like it takes a lot of hard work. Literally, so Dan LeBatard and again everybody involved in the network, in his network, like they left the biggest brand in sports. All that infrastructure gone, right? So they have to do all the tech, right? They have to find clever ways to distribute content and to create content. They were doing what we're doing now. They were using Zooms like us, right?
Literally,
right? With like semi-poor audio and video.
Yeah.
Right. Just to keep their audience engaged. And what's unique about their audience may not be the actual sheer number. It's the stickiness of their audience. They're loyal. I'm loyal. Yeah. I listen every day. In fact, my dream job, I'm going to say this right now, my dream job is to do a sports and immigration podcast for the LeBatard and Friends Network. That has become my dream job because I've become such a fan of certain podcasts. And I think they do it the best for me. And about a decade ago is when I first discovered their show on ESPN. And like the humor, I like crass humor. It got me through some of the toughest times in my life. And that's what made me loyal to it. So I'm glad you're a fan too. And we're a fan of Draftkings. I need deep pullbacks. Draftkings is about to report earnings. And I usually don't buy such a large stock of chunk for me ahead of earnings, but I was like, I'm with it.
This is big. So for anybody who heard that, make sure you tag Dan and his team. The RiskReward Media is looking for, like a sidearm, like we wouldn't mind a spot there.
Yes. And if y'all don't want it, your Draftkings.
Hey,
come through. We can take it at a fraction of that 50 million.
Yeah.
But this also carves a different pathway for, again, our ambitions and any of the folks out there who have these ambitions of media and like creating content. Like there's a different model that just started here. And DraftKings set that tone. So, let's get creative with some of these partnerships and slide in our DMs because we're open. This talk about how like politics got in the way of the Dan LeBatard show at ESPN also is a nice transition to ultimately our main topic, but also the second part of our weekly rewind, which is Basecamp. So it's founders. So Basecamp, for those of you who don't know, I don't know if you've used it as a project management tool, but if you used Asana, Trello, maybe even Jira, I'm almost sure you've heard of Basecamp. It is a project management tool along the lines of those other tools. But its founder had a memo recently that banned political discourse in the company. And as a result, over the past several days, and I've seen this on Twitter, 1/3 of their employees, and it's not like they had a whole lot, right? I believe they had less than 100 employees. I think it was ranging around like 70. Imagine losing 1/3 of your
overnight
over that one memo, but it's really about the sentiment behind that memo. And some of the folks who resigned were senior talent, like decision makers, right?
Yeah.
So when you read about this, Derrick, how did you feel?
So I did like a very deep dive like into Basecamp because one, I've never heard of Basecamp before, but now that I was like, oh, like they do the same thing as like these other companies. So and on top of that, I've had a lot of convos over the weekend about this because a lot of people I know work in that diverse and in the inclusion space. So they of course were like, this is what they should expect. Like you shouldn't be putting out like any type of memos, just kind of hindering speech and stuff like that. But when I was doing some research on it, I took some notes down. Funny enough, earlier this year, one of the founders from Basecamp, they were basically talking with a representative. I forget what state he's from. I think it's Rhode Island, but it was earlier last year in June. Basically, sharing the stage with him, talking about how Apple with their store, like their Apple store fees are like way too high. So it's just, I feel like this is like a very like a very what's the word, like keep that same type of like you got to keep that same type of
energy.
Yeah, because for them, they were earlier last year or in the mid of last year, they were very outspoken with how they felt. They had no problem going, speaking with like any type of like city or those the politicians and stuff like that. So that was the first thing that I found out. That I was like, ooh, like that's not cool. Like you can't just kind of be going back and forth on that. But doing more research into the actual the memo that one of the founders sent. So yes, the political speech is something that they want to just kind of pull back, but also another thing that I found out for them is that they're looking to take away, like, how companies would give you like stipends to do like, go to the gym, stipends to, for food and stuff like that.
So health and wellness and also like professional development.
Yes.
Grants.
So basically they're taking away all of that and just basically pay people out the full cash value. For them, they feel like it's not their responsibility to, I guess, like help you or do anything or like whatever you do outside of work, like that's for you and like you only. Another thing that I found to be very useful was they got rid of the 360 performance reviews. I'm not sure if you ever done one before, but performance reviews are trash. They are annoying. They take long. So, I mean, to see that gone, I'm like, all right, cool. That's fine. But another thing.
So performance reviews will probably make that a future episode.
Yeah. But one of the last things that I found was their head of people is now going to be in charge of all of these DEI like choices, which I don't think that's fair because as the head of people, DEI is what you're going to be doing. So and when it comes to talking about politics at work, it's something that you really can't stop. And a lot of the DEI issues are related to the politics. So giving that one person the the say so, I think is going to is really going to bite them sooner or later. But all in all, for them to lose so many people at like that time, I think that's crazy. But on the flip side, if you don't care about that stuff, they are hiring. They have plenty of jobs open.
Yes, like 25 roles just suddenly opened this past week. So if you actually like that, hey, we're not trying to talk about politics at work. If you like that, that's you. There's 25 open roles.
Yeah.
I like that. There's always a silver lining, right? Yeah. Everything. So yes, and that's what we do here, right? Because what do? We help you find the upside, right? So yes, that was the second big event that we wanted to talk about in our weekly rewind, but it's actually the lead into our main topic. So we put this out on LinkedIn. We've done this on IG. We put out the poll. Do you like having political discourse at work? Like, should it be allowed? So for us, do you embrace it or should it be prohibited? Right?
Yeah.
And I was wondering, so you gave us great context just now in terms of Basecamp specifically, but you also have some insights from the human resources perspective. Can you talk about politics as it relates to like free speech?
Yes. So I love to go into like my human resources bag at from time to time because that's where like really all like stemmed from. But there's this board called the National Labor Relations Board. And basically they are the ones who kind of look out for those who are in unions or those who are not within unions. And something that I mentioned on LinkedIn is that this issue is very tricky, specifically for human resources, because when it comes to political speech, it is not protected under like, the actual laws. It gets tricky because the only way that it is if the political speech relates to like the actual job itself, or the the overall job. So let's say, for instance, knowing that the minimum wage is going to go to 15, nationwide, you as a company may want to be like, hey, now that we know this is happening, how does that affect our company? That's, the politics side, as well as the actual, how does that affect us? Now, the thing is that it gets very, very messy when I, am just basically not, when I just lost my train of thought.
No worries.
Yeah, but I just got it back. But basically, let's say, for instance, if I'm working at a company and you're, there too, and I basically say like, you should be voting for this person because I feel like this is right and this is right. That's something that's not classified under as like that free speech, because it can come off, wrong and raw. I can be something as like, I'm trying to harm you and stuff like that. And then on top of that, just because you voted for, or you have, a different views than I have, that can change our like how like we work. So that's when it really gets to that, that's not the actual, it's something that's not work worthy, because I'm not able, because I can't, put my views on to you, knowing that it doesn't like impact the actual company. So under that clause that the NLRB has, political speech is only allowed when it's really for the betterment of the job itself.
That's great context. Thank you for that. So NLRB, like that's statute is in the books. And what comes to mind are two companies that literally cannot step away from being political. And that's Uber and Lyft. If you look at their financials, so much of their expenses goes to lobbying. They have representatives that like so much of their team, they are trying to meet with representatives in local, state, and federal government, so that the drivers won't be classified as employees. Because once they're classified as employees, then another set of regulations come. Two, you guys start paying benefits for all of them. So that's going to be super costly. And they are investing so much. Airbnb, the same thing, right? So they cannot help but be political. They literally have lobbying departments. It's not called that. It might be called government relations, right? Or external relations. But they're doing a lot of lobbying, because all that money that they're pouring into this aspect of their business, is part of their cost structure, does not compare to how much money, how much billions they have to pay out if Uber drivers, Lyft drivers go from contractors to actual employees of the company.
Yeah, because I know I did a workshop on like business a model canvases, and for Uber, within their original one, it definitely says like, we are going to lobby.
Yeah, so there's some companies that are inherent in their business model, they have to do that. But there's this other angle of like just like water cooler talk, right? So let's think back to when we were going to the office. You go into the dining area, hey, how you doing? And eventually you start talking about the news of the day, and then some politics comes out organically, right? Because it's part of the news of the day. And then what happens? We start sharing our perspectives, we start disagreeing, right? And next thing you know, you start to get mad at like your coworker
Yep.
because of their personal beliefs. And what if you have to work with this coworker on a team, on a project? How comfortable do you feel? Like, do they actually respect your identity? Like, why are you reading it into that deeply? It's just work. Well, no, it's not just work, right? So all of these things figure in. So I was wondering, before I get to the risky part of embracing politics and political discourse in the workplace, um, what are some rewards that you see in being able to talk about politics freely in the workplace?
For me, I do think one of the biggest rewards is that as an employee, I'm able to kind of talk freely. Like, you're not trying to limit my speech. I think that's one of the biggest things. On top of that, um, I feel like it's gonna happen regardless. Like, it will happen. So you really can't stop it. However, knowing that you're giving people a space to kind of talk about it. Well, let me rephrase that. I think companies should embrace it, but however, be very strategic in terms of giving people that space to actually talk about it, because you don't want to have that water cooler talk when people are just going like just back and forth and stuff like that. You want to give people a space to, talk about it, but not be on the same page, but also be able to work. I think that's where it gets like really, really, tricky at. But having, being able to kind of talk about that, you are building your DEI, which I think also will also lead to more like people coming in. And I feel like for like the outside world, that's definitely that's definitely going to help out, because now if I know that my voice is heard at your company, I'm going to be more willing to actually work there now. You're going to have, rather than people leaving, you're going to have people coming, people trying to apply now. So I think that's one of the biggest rewards that people have, or sorry, that companies have when it comes to allowing this type of talk to actually happen.
I'm with you on that. Like, it definitely can help the company image, because like the employees have this sense of freedom. Employees themselves might feel like more seen, and that's always great. But again, I'm Mr. Risk. So let me walk folks through like what might be the downsides of embracing this. So one, it is an impact on productivity, right? So we sometimes don't realize how much these intrusive thoughts, like, oh, I have lost some respect for my coworker, or those little arguments that you had that might have gone past your designated lunch break that you set for yourself. Or it could be you're not wanting to attend an optional meeting because you don't like the people who are presenting after you've heard about their differing points of view in terms of politics. All of that, all of those different examples affects productivity at the company. And as me as a business owner and decision maker of my business, like, hey, let's stay on task, and we still have to be productive even though things are less than ideal. If you're looking for the perfect culture and most ideal workplace, it doesn't exist really, right? There's always going to be some sort of sacrifice, and part of that may be being able to tolerate someone who you might work closely with that has different political perspectives than you do. Um, and if you don't have a strong leader to either set the tone or to step in when things get really divisive, this might blow up into controversy. So the question that I pose is that freedom worth the potential of like a big controversy? There's also another thing as a company is, once you commit to having open discourse, you can't take it back.
Yeah.
Because down the line, people are going to ask, well, how come you didn't stick up for this group if there was an injustice for a certain group? So once you commit, it is all or nothing here. So I'll make this clear. I am okay if a company wants to ban it. For my company, it's sort of inherent because we are a social impact org. So we are dealing with companies and organizations that are trying to solve social issues, which are inherently political, right? And I also have an immigrant background, and I've been active in immigrant rights advocacy. I can't totally separate that from the company, so it's inherent in it. But I don't start talking about it all the time. I know that there's a spectrum to this. We've had a couple of previous episodes on student loans, so you all have heard my views on student loans, which aren't exactly forgive everything, right? And I know that's in conflict with past and current team members like perspectives on student loans. That's fine. We still got things done. We still made 2020 the most profitable and most revenue generating year for Grantanswers. That didn't get in the way. And part of that was I set the tone, right? And I know I could have improved. It's weird. Like people were asking me, well, how come you didn't do anything for like Asian Pacific Islander Heritage Month? And I'm like, have you seen our shows? Right? Do you see the flag on my Twitter name? Right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I think folks have to pay attention a little bit more. And I'm not one for this sort of kind of like procedural, kind of like feel good, but like nothing really of substance, kind of performative actions that companies take. Like, we may not post like a whole bunch of Black Lives Matter content, but I hope folks understand that of like the 600 folks that we helped to train recently, the overwhelming majority of that was Black and brown. Mm-hmm. Like if that's not showing that Black Lives Matter, then I don't know what is. Because I may not be wearing the shirts or like waving the flags, but I sure as hell am doing one aspect of the necessary work of it, and my company is fully entrenched in that. We don't need to do a whole bunch of flag waving or like performative social media posts. We will do it on occasionally just to acknowledge like the community, right? But what I say is like, just follow our work. You'll get it. If you pay attention close enough, you'll get
it. Yeah. Yeah. Just to add to that, like, don't, just because it's not posted on social media doesn't mean it's not happening. I've had plenty of people come up to me, how come you didn't say this or say that? I'm like, I don't have to say it, like I'm doing it. So yes, but I just want to add something to just coming from like the client side too. When it comes to, I guess, this political speech at work and just having like that employee freedom to kind of, and also that, I guess, like that, what's that point to where you are attracting more like people in. So whenever I meet with one of my new clients, the first thing I always ask them, like, when it comes to your talent, when it comes to talent and like your recruitment processes, like, what's your stance on diversity? And I feel like you can't take that apart from the politics because it's so closely, like tied up. So for me, I feel like with my work, it's not, so like overly in like your face. However, you have to be smart about how you're recruiting people. What are the processes that you're going to have in place? Where are you going to get your talent from? I know companies now, they really like to say like, oh, I'm hiring from like this, talent pipeline to show that we're, bringing in more, people of color. So for them, it's more about like that flag waving, just to kind of show the world what they're doing. But on the flip side, it also works because now if I'm looking for a job and I know, Apple is putting, millions of dollars in HBCUs, like that's going to make me want to go to Apple now because I see that they're actually putting in like that work to it. So recruiting and diversity go hand in hand. So I feel like it's when it comes to like this specific part, it's very hard to kind of just like separate. So for me, I'm always talking about this with regards to the clients that I have. So I just want them to be like very, very, I guess like they should know like what's happening and know that once they say this, you can't like, oh, let's like change it up, because that creates like a whole another can of worms. That I mean, so like luckily I haven't had to deal with that. Companies I've dealt with, they kind of stayed on track, but I'm just scared to see what happens if a company's like, yeah, we're for this, cause, but then after a while they're like, you know what, let's like scale back on that.
Yeah. So again, a lot of the headache for businesses, if you want to avoid some of it, set that tone in the beginning.
Yeah.
Right? So have those expectations clear, and then if you incorporate that as part of your company values and culture, then you let people know, and folks who end up applying for roles at your company will be more aligned to that, because they'll know uh, from the beginning that this is what I'm in for. So again, I'm okay with it. Again, we want folks to see the risks and rewards, so that they can find the upside however they choose. But yeah, there's like 25 openings at Basecamp right now.
Yeah, so just apply.
Yeah. All right. So that really addresses the main topic that we had. There's an open office hours question that's actually related that we will address right after on Twitter Spaces. So I know it's kind of late, so we might keep the Twitter Spaces discussion a bit shorter than usual. But just as a heads up, when we get on Twitter right after the show, the question is about being part of a company that wasn't vocal about social issues, that was really meaningful to the person who asked this question, and they were trying to figure out like what should they do. So is it a matter of like them just like accepting it for what it is, that the company isn't vocal, or are there steps that that person can take to help that company become more vocal? And we'll explore that on Twitter Spaces in about a couple of minutes. Um, but that's a nice way to really drive home that main topic about political discourse. And I checked the LinkedIn and IG. It's kind of like a split decision right now. On LinkedIn, it was 50-50, right? On IG, it was they wanted it. They wanted political discourse in the workplace.
Yeah.
And that's fine. And we'll probably share out like final results down the line, or maybe in the comments, or maybe in a future episode we'll do a recap. So that brings us to the right move right now, to close out this episode before we go to Twitter Spaces. So for me, it feels like it's time to lock in a little bit of profits. Ether has gone to all-time highs, pierced that 3,000 mark.
There you go.
So again, you might want to consider locking in some profits, even if you have a long-term view. And if it goes down, you can buy back some more, right? You improve your cost basis on the way down. But you shouldn't be ashamed to lock in some profits. How about you in terms of your right move right now?
So I wanted to share this quote because it kind of goes back to what we said earlier, and I'm happy that we spoke about it. But of course, buy Bitcoin. It says the quote is, I don't know who said it, but it says, "Don't talk, just act. Don't say, just show. Don't promise, just prove." So to me, that really speaks to the work that we do, even though we're not all, like what's his name? The Suge Knight would say, dancing all in videos,
all up in the videos.
But like we're behind the scenes doing the work. So with whatever project you're doing or whatever you're focused on right now, just do it. Don't look for like any type of approval. Just show and prove.
Yeah, we got the receipts. We want you all to have the receipts. In the long run, we will win out.
There you go. So Twitter Spaces.
Yeah, we're about to head there. And again, I want to thank you all, the 19 subscribers, soon to be 20.
Yes.
Right. And then we'll accelerate to 100, I'm sure.
Triple digits, baby.
But hit like, hit subscribe, follow, share. You'll see us, RiskReward Show on Instagram, myself and Derrick on LinkedIn. And also, like this episode, share it with folks. Go back to some of the previous episodes and feel free to comment. We're making our episodes shorter, right? We've taken your feedback. We're making them shorter. And we're also going to do it in 2 parts now. Again, we started this last week, but we're going to take this to Twitter Spaces in 2 minutes. All right.
We're all set up. See
Thank
y'all
you.
there.